You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.
Hello, hello, and welcome out there in podcast land. You have stumbled upon, found, or otherwise landed upon Johnny Has the Keys, a podcast where two old friends get together, talk about horror and science fiction genre films, television shows, other literature, key influences of those films, and things that they have influenced. My name is David. If you're finding us for the first time, wow. Thank you. Glad you found us. Glad you're here. Hope you enjoy it. Tell all your friends. If you're coming back to us, yay, we must be doing something right. And we're glad you're back with us. My name is David, like I said, and I'm here with my good friend, Tim. Hey, Tim, how's it going? That background is kind of creepy, scary.
Yeah, I got some creepy zombies in the background. You know,
Zombies.
We talked about it last week. I want to bring some zombies in. Zombies. I've got another one too.
I have just our normal cool logo that also does have a zombie though. So see, there's a zombie.
There's that other one. I sent you one of them.
Yeah. But what have you been doing other than zombies? Of course, that's rare for you.
Ooh, I just revealed.
You're usually zombing all over the place.
Sorry about that.
That's
a
okay.
little technical error. There you go. You got a little teaser there. If you're looking at us visually, you'll know what we're going to talk
yes.
about.
If you are watching us on YouTube, then you know what's coming.
What have I been doing this week?
Yes.
Well, I mentioned this to you maybe in a podcast a week or so back when you were adamant about not watching Marvel movies in order.
Correct.
Chronologically, but as in release date instead.
Yes.
Because that's the way they were intended to be seen, I guess.
Correct.
But I'm watching them chronologically, and I have gotten through 4 so far.
Okay.
I went back and watched Captain America and Captain Marvel out of order, actually, because I had never seen Captain Marvel, and that's kind of what started all of this.
Okay.
And then the last couple of nights I've watched the first 2 Iron Man movies, and it was fun.
But doesn't Thor come in between those 2 Iron Men?
No, Thor follows Iron Man 2.
Oh, okay.
And then it's Avengers, the first movie. Yeah. It was weird revisiting them. I thought there would be a little bit more connectivity, but other than seeing the Tesseract in Captain America,
right,
with Red Skull, really the only connection these movies have is Nick Fury from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, you also have Agent Coulson.
Oh, Coulson
from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Well, Coulson's not in Captain America, and Nick Fury might not be either.
No, because neither one of them is alive.
Right, because it was in the 40s.
Yes.
Or they would have been babies. But I can't remember what the teaser footage was at the end of Captain America, though. Anyway.
I'm mean having the post-credit scene? The post-credit scene, the Marvel thing that they...
Right. And honestly, back with Captain America, and especially Iron Man, they were still just doing it at the very end. It was before they were doing the mid-credit, scene.
Yes.
Now they're doing it usually in both places. But it was fun revisiting them, because Favreau, the only thing I've been watching of him lately was Mandalorian, which I love. And going back and watching those Iron Man movies is a lot of fun.
He's good.
Yeah.
And he essentially, I mean, I like Captain America. I think it is one of the strongest of the whole initial phases of the MCU. I think it's a very strong film, but I also think Iron Man is too. And Favreau really does develop that character very well and those films very well. Yeah, the post-credit scenes used to be like Ferris Bueller. You know, it was like after everything had gone and
Oh,
scrolled
yeah.
up,
Why are
and then
you
suddenly
here?
it goes, you
Go
why are
home.
you still go home, you know, sort of
I
thing.
forgot all about that.
So, but I think that I think what you're not going to see the intricacies of the way they tie everything together until you get a couple more in. It's almost
Right.
like after
Well,
Avengers when they start doing it a lot better.
right. Well, they did introduce Natasha in Iron Man 2. She
Mm-hmm.
is kind of undercover in that one. They don't
Right.
actually say Black Widow, but you know it's her.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. From
And there was a lot of
her experience.
controversy because people didn't want her to be cast in that role and didn't think she would be good for it and everything else. And I
Why?
think she's awesome in it.
She's fine. Is it
Oh,
because she
yeah.
wasn't a redhead?
No, I think it was just because they didn't like her as an actress in that role.
I heard
Yeah.
more of that with Brie Larson. A lot of people did not
Oh, a
like
lot of
her.
that. But a lot of people didn't like it after they saw her either. I think when people saw Iron Man 2, they really liked her in that role as Natasha Romanoff. But people after they saw Captain Marvel still didn't like Brie Larson. And I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, she was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was fun watching too, especially with WandaVision because it has Monica's character in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely tie in. Well, and you're coming up on Winter Soldier, which is probably my favorite of the whole original MCU.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one in a while because I like Civil War a lot.
I like Winter Soldier better than Civil War. I like Natasha in it a lot. For one thing, I really like how they introduce Falcon. I think he's great with that on your left sort of a scene. And I like the way Roger's character progresses in that, having to deal with, oh my gosh, I'm the oldest man in the world right now, and I don't know. You know, he keeps that little notebook. And he has like people will list something like, you know, the Beatles' White Album. And he goes, oh, okay, I'll write that down. You know, things you missed.
Now that you mention it, I think that Nick Fury is in Captain America because at the end he runs out into Times Square and it's modern day. And doesn't he run into Nick Fury then? I
don't remember. I'd have to watch that again to see.
You know what? I just watched it a week ago and I don't remember.
Hang on a second.
All right. I'm going to talk about zombie superheroes. Have you seen Marvel Zombies? Have you ever heard of Marvel Zombies?
There are no Marvel Zombies.
Yes, there are. They're graphic novels called Marvel Zombies, and they are really killer. They're like flesh-eating superheroes. Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, see, that sounds like The Boys.
Well, and it's well, no, it's traditional. It's like Spider-Man and Captain America and Iron Man are zombies.
Yeah.
You need to see that. I'm going to have to send you one of those.
Okay. Send me one of those.
Yeah, they're pretty gross.
I actually did a little bit of genre the other night and started or got caught up on, I'd seen the pilot, but now I'm caught up on the first 4 episodes of the new NBC series that I'm watching on the Peacock streaming service called Debris. And it's I would be really curious. I would challenge you, if you could, to watch the first 2 episodes and see what you think, because it's like it wants to be the X-Files, but they don't know how, kind of thing, if that makes sense at all.
It does. I've actually considered trying to do an X-Files type thing in my writing, but I'm afraid it'll just be too similar. You know what I mean?
Well, this is a J.J. Abrams produced series, so I'm already skeptical.
Yeah.
Basically, the concept, without giving much away, because it doesn't matter, it's kind of episode of the week, monster of the week kind of thing. But the issue is that a spacecraft, an alien spacecraft, was coming toward Earth and exploded. And all of the debris over the past several months has been cascading down to the Earth. And every time they encounter a chunk, it could be as small as like a little 1-inch cube sort of thing. But anytime they find this debris, strange things are associated with it. So that's kind of the precept of the whole series. And this secret government organization that has a male and a female as their chief advocates is looking to examine and pick up these mysteries that are happening with these pieces of debris.
Are you going to tell me that one is a skeptic and one believes?
One is more covert and into secrets in the government organization, and the other one is actually from England, and her father was the first person who saw the ship in orbit, coming toward Earth.
Okay.
So it's
I mean, I like the premise of different size pieces being found. I want to know if different things happen with each piece, and how in the hell are they going to bring all that together?
Well, I can't tell you that unless you watch it.
I mean, like if it's a little piece, it'd be funny if little stupid things started happening. But if it's a big piece, like you could have like Lovecraft monsters popping out of the sky or something. I don't know.
Possibly.
Who knows? Yes. I don't know. You let me know how good that is, and then I'll watch it.
Well, I would say that like I said, I'm 4 episodes in, and I'm not really, it's like,
not feeling it, are you?
Not feeling it, really. And it's not just my anti-JJ. It's that I don't think they developed it enough. It's one of those where this is a cool idea, and every week we could have a different anomaly, kind of like Fringe. Fringe was really good, that sort of thing. But that doesn't work if you're trying to be cohesive with the story.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we've talked about in the other podcast, which, by the way, if you join our Patreon, you can hear it. But anyway, one of the things that we talk about is, they didn't force X-Files every week to try to expand the story. They were at a time in episodic television or whatever where they could have threads if they wanted it, but you could have standalone episodes. Boom, you're done. That's it. Good. There you go.
Right.
And that works. And this one doesn't. They're trying to link. Every episode has to have some kind of hook at the end. It has to relate back to the pilot. It has, and it's like, no, you're not. Don't. Just don't do that.
Stop it.
Just stop it. Stop it. But I mean, the acting is good. I like the two leads.
Is there anyone on it that we know?
No, the only one I recognize, and I don't even know his name, but he played Craddock in Westworld, and he's a good actor. He's strong in it. I don't recognize the girl at all, nor any of the other supporting cast. And obviously, it was filmed during the pandemic in Canada because it looks like X-Files. It's lit like X-Files. I mean, without the big flashlights, but lots of green, lush, even though they say we're in Iowa. And it's like, no, you're not. You're not in freaking Iowa. There's no way, that sort of thing. And, and it's, like I said, it's like X-Files. Then the next week they're suddenly in Seattle. And then the next week they're suddenly in Florida, picking up the debris and the pieces. So
interesting. And this is on Netflix?
No, it's on NBC.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You said NBC. So is it on just the streaming, or is it on television too?
I don't know. I don't watch television. I only watch streaming platforms.
I'm
a cable cutter.
Well, so many people, I wish I could be, but we have a mother-in-law in the house that, I mean, Dennis watches everything through Hulu Live pretty much.
Hulu Live's awesome.
Yeah.
Hulu Live is great.
But I don't know. We still have both. The reason I said that though is because a lot of these streaming platforms now are offering only through streaming. Like that new Justice League
Paramount
is not on HBO. It's only on HBO Max, right? I think. Yeah.
Well, and Paramount Plus is doing all, is going to end up having a lot of all the Star Trek and everything else, which is only going to be available there.
They've got the RuPaul All-Stars too, which is a spinoff of RuPaul's Drag Race. Yeah.
And of course, Disney has the MCU. and Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm loving Disney Plus right now because I'm in the Marvel world. So,
yeah.
I watched that show you told me about, the special on WandaVision.
Oh, it was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good. It was really
liked
good.
I thought it was really good behind the scenes. I love the interviews. I like the way that was done really well. And the way they kind of tried to tie it into the whole MCU from the past. I'm very unique in that I've read maybe 3 comic books my entire life. So for me, the MCU is what it is. I mean, I'm accepting it for what it is, and I don't have anything to base it on. But I'm sure for people like you and other people who read the comics, I mean, it's like I talked to somebody who she loves the comics and she's only started to do the MCU. And I said, so what do you mean started? She goes, well, I watched Avengers. And I went, okay, without anything else, you just watched Avengers? And she goes, right. And then I watched WandaVision. I said, whoa, you watched Avengers and you watched WandaVision, but you watch anything in between, like Endgame or Infinity War?
Because Wanda and Vision aren't even in Avengers.
And I said, you didn't, never mind. I said, I can't tell you now because you've watched WandaVision. So right. And she goes, but no, my favorite part was when he came down and he's wearing the original Vision costume. He's wearing those ugly shorts and the yellow cape and all that stuff. And I said,
honestly, if you go look, they're not shorts. They're like bikini and there's a belt.
Yeah. In the comic.
In the comic book. Right. Yeah. Those shorts were just awful.
They were terrible.
Wore on the show. I'm sure they were done on purpose.
Oh yeah. And I love that when, she goes up to him and she goes, thank you for dressing as a wrestler. As a Mexican wrestler. But anyway.
I joke often about having stopped reading comic books because they got too expensive in the late 80s. But another reason I stopped was because the MCU, or that is Marvel Comics universe, is so huge and overwhelming. I sometimes feel lost in it because there's so much. It's like I can't read Avengers and Fantastic Four. There's just too much shit going on, and it starts adding up money-wise. And then they were spinning off series after series. Spider-Man had like 5 different titles out, not just the Amazing Spider-Man, but the Sensational Spider-Man and Marvel Team Up and all these other things. It's just a lot, and I'm kind of a completist.
Straczynski, I remember reading Straczynski's book. He was talking about that when he came on to Spider-Man, was hired to do Spider-Man. His whole thing was to make it more of a cohesive story that worked strong together and kind of got rid of all the ancillary other versions sort of thing. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't mind it. And now you've got all these multiverses and they're getting ready to do that in the movies as well. And I'm like, holy crap, man, there's a lot. But as long as it's a 2-hour movie and I enjoy it, I'm okay with it. I don't want, or a 3-hour, whatever. I'm somewhat of a completist, and it kind of bothers me that I couldn't know all of that universe. It's just too much,
Right.
So, I mean, I know that Walking Dead ends. I can have every single one of those.
The graphic novel.
Right.
Right. Yeah, but
whatever they do,
series will never end. It'll go on forever.
Oh yeah, as far as that, that's your next Star Wars, pretty much. But yeah, it is. I mean, there's just so much they can do with that. But anyway,
somebody needs to buy it out and do a theme park that has a zombie, kind of like we used to haunt the, when we do the hanging.
JC Haunted House. Oh,
no, when we did Not Scary Farm, and would haunt the whole place. And like Disney haunts and Universal haunts, but there's not a dedicated, hey, this is Walking Dead land.
That would be awesome.
I know. For fans like you, that would be.
It would. Disney's is the not so scary Halloween. It's not really scary. So scary. They do have the Headless Horseman, which is kind of cool. But I would love to do the Universal one for sure.
Oh yeah. Be good for you.
Well, we're talking about Walking Dead land, and we happen to be in that territory this week.
We are.
Imagine that. What a segue.
As we near the end of season 3, we suddenly decide that we want it to be an apocalypse with flesh-eating people or creatures. They're people. They're just, well, are they people? How do you determine that?
I thought you were, sorry, I was reflecting on the last few movies of this season. I was thinking, are they all that way? But no, they're not.
No,
However,
this one in particular.
This one in particular is our 6th comedic film that we've done this season. So that gives us a little bit of a theme. And those of you who aren't watching on YouTube and saw me accidentally reveal it earlier have probably already determined that we are talking about 2004's Shaun of the Dead, which I didn't know much about this movie when it came out. I was like, they're doing a zombie comedy. This was before Zombieland and those other ones. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of Zombieland and those other ones. Some people are. I love this movie a lot. I love this movie very much for the same reasons of last week's Galaxy Quest episode. Because this movie not only makes fun or makes it comedic, they also pay like loving homage to these franchises. In particular, with Galaxy Quest, it was Star Trek. And in particular with this, it's George Romero and zombie movies. Not the other ones that we know that have come since, like Walking Dead and World War Z. This is the slow zombies from Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. And there's even characters in there that are named after those characters. It came out in 2004, if I didn't mention that already. It was directed and written by Edgar Wright and stars Simon Pegg, who plays Scotty on the reboot of the Star Trek series. And wrote
one of the movies.
Did I say series? I meant to say movie.
Simon Pegg wrote one of them.
Oh, he wrote one of them? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And Nick Frost plays his cohort Ed in this, and they have both worked together a lot and worked with Edgar Wright a lot as far as comic movies. I didn't write those other ones down. One's called like World's End, and one's
World's End. I remember
reading
about that. Hot Fuzz. I remember neither one of them I have seen. I have not seen either one of them. No.
Me either, because it doesn't have zombies in it. So, do you recall like your first experience with this movie?
Yeah, it was like 48 hours ago when I watched it.
Oh my God, you've never seen this movie before?
No, I had never seen this movie before.
This movie is so funny.
It is. I have to admit, I loved it. I mean, it was just the casting, the direction, the writing, all of it was just great all the way through. Yeah.
Yeah, it's British comedy, so it's already got a step up there as far as I'm concerned, because you're heading into like Monty Python territory and some really kind of crazy humor. But then you've got, like I said, all the homages and winks and nods to the genre itself. I did not see this in a theater. I saw it on DVD probably the year it came out, 2004. Okay. Once I started hearing about it, I was like, oh yeah, I need to see this. So
that makes sense for you. I mean, it would be one of those that, hey, I'd really need to see that if it's going to have zombies in it, kind of thing.
To break it down and give a quick synopsis, it's basically about two friends that share a flat with another roommate named Peter. Hint, Peter, Dawn of the Dead. The roommates are Sean and Ed. Sean has a retail job at a store. It's like an electronics store.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't it named after like John Land? No, it's named after, I don't know. There's a key there too, but I can't remember what it is. Anyway, and then his roommate Nick is kind of a loser that just stays home and plays video games. He's
right.
And basically, the zombie apocalypse happens around them, and they're oblivious of it for about 30 minutes of the film. I clocked it. things are happening in the background the entire time this movie is going on in the beginning, and they are completely unaware of it. And it's done very much like the way they do it in Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, where you'll hear something sometimes on a broadcast of a radio,
Oh yeah,
car passing by, or on a television in a store. And then all of a sudden, if you're paying attention, there's like constantly sirens in the background, or shambling people far off, or somebody that looks like they're making out in a corner that could potentially be being eaten. The story, sorry, I got away from the story though. The story is about Shaun and his girlfriend. They break up shortly before he discovers the apocalypse is going on, and then he determines that their job is to go and rescue her and his mother and stepdad and her friends, and meet at the pub because there's a rifle hanging at the pub. It's called the Winchester, and it's got really sturdy doors. That's their excuse.
That's their excuse. Yeah.
Got nothing to do with booze at all.
Right.
Scenes? Any scenes stick out?
Oh my gosh. All of them. I mean, it is, I guess what I liked best about it was the theatricality of the staging and the way he did things, so that in very unique ways, like at the beginning, showing the slice of life of Shaun, he basically gets up, talks to Ed, who is playing video games already in the morning. He goes out to get his morning paper and his morning drink and maybe a breakfast sandwich or something, yada, yada, comes back, finishes getting ready, and then goes to work. And then later on, after the apocalypse, the next few days later, they do the same sequence, but all of this stuff is going on and he's totally oblivious to it.
Right. And there's like no cars driving in the street. There may be a person, but they're a long ways away and shambling. There's no one in the store where he gets his energy drink or whatever it is he gets there every morning. But when he opens the cooler, there's a bloody handprint on it.
And he doesn't see it because right when he opens it, he looks the other way and he doesn't notice it. And we do as an audience. You know, I loved that. I thought that was one of my favorite initial sequences.
That's why I timed it, because I was curious how long they do it.
I liked his quick cut editing in a lot of the places where it would just, you know, in that section where we're used to having a montage of, you know, we're getting all of our weapons together. They're like looking at stuff and then it cuts and they don't like it, or it cuts over here and then suddenly they have a box of records, you know, and it just makes, it's just the farce side of it. I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't show as a silly Three Stooges kind of farce because they believe the world they're in so well. All the characters are there, and they really think that getting a big box of records out and throwing them at the zombies is going to work. You know, it's just, you know, and their other roommate Nick, who is such just an angry individual.
No, that's Peter. Nick is the loser. I'm sorry. No, it's Ed is the loser, played by Nick Frost. Peter is the roommate that is the one that throws the record out the window. Yeah, the one that gets mad at him for being
their
loud.
big, bulky roommate who has a job, who really resents Ed.
Yeah, I may have pictures of these guys. Oh, I don't have a picture of Peter though.
I like scenes. I like the fact that they ended it the way they did, and before the ending the way they did. I like the resolution of the conflict with in the basement of the Winchester and the army and all of that. I thought that was good. I liked and I liked the little tag out at the end with going to the shed. You know, that's very to me, that was their last little wink at Romero, and the key in that one was Day of the Dead. You know,
Right.
when Bub or whoever is chained up going,
Right.
that was Ed, you know, still playing, trying to play
With the headphones
game
on.
with the headphones on.
Yeah.
And he reaches across and he tries to buy him. He goes, Ed, stop it.
Right. There are so many Easter eggs in this movie, so many I didn't even know. And I went and watched some of the outtakes today, and they are
Okay.
hilarious. You've got to see them. There's the scene where Peter and Sean are talking about Ed being a loser.
Mm-hmm.
They do it as the Beatles, and they go back and forth as all four of them. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
Holy cow, they sound just like them. So if you get a chance to see that, that is great stuff. But what I meant as far as like Easter eggs, just weird stuff. Like if you're watching the credits, when they do that slow pan across, just showing, and they show this woman checking out, someone buying groceries.
Oh, they show the zombies of life. Like people standing in line.
And she's Mary. Yeah. And she's the one that's in the yard later when he says Mary, because she has the name tag.
Oh, yeah, she has the name tag.
Yes.
Right.
And at some point, Nick said something about Bloody Mary, and she's Bloody Mary.
That's great.
It's they put a lot of thought into this. The pizza place or whatever, the Italian restaurant he's going to take his girlfriend to is Fulci's, as in Lucia Fulci's.
Yeah.
The zombie director.
He described it as like the place that doesn't serve fish or that won't serve fish or something like that.
Something like that.
And I remember stopping because I went back to look at it. But when he goes, and that's another one of those fast montages too, of him trying to book the reservation, and it's cut to the book, cut to the, but in the white pages of the telephone book, it says the place that doesn't serve fish or whatever. It actually says that in the Fulci's ad. I thought Simon Pegg is.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say one of the stores. It's either his store or the store that Mary works at is a reference to John Landis. It's Landis something, yeah. And then there's another one too. But I can't remember what it is right now. Like I said, there's a lot. You can look them up.
Well, I've seen outtakes from like, Into Darkness and Star Trek, the reboot and everything else with Simon Pegg, and he's always hilarious. Mm-hmm. And I've heard, and in doing research for this podcast, I heard that he's a lot like Vince Vaughn and Robin Williams was when they shoot comedies. He just likes to do the scene, 6, 8, 10 times and just try different things. Just whatever. Let's just try something,
there's a scene. One of the outtake things I was watching today was the one with him and Ed in the bar, when he's saying, okay, who's that person? Okay, who's that person? And then Ed tells their story. They had like the outtakes from that, and they are raunchy as hell. And Simon cannot keep it together. And I swear at one point they go, take 400 and something. And I'm like, are they serious? Is that really the 400th time he has said something different? Yeah, really funny stuff. And like you said,
speaking of scenes, that was a good setup. That was the opening and the way they do that, where our perception of what we're seeing is only what we're seeing here. And when the camera pans over, we suddenly realize they're actually talking to someone else or about someone else who's right, because Ed is playing the pinball machine and her roommates are actually sitting there beside her, but you think at first they're having this nice little intimate conversation, but no, they're both there. They're all three there. I thought that was a very well written scene and sets up the whole movie for be careful of what you see behind them that the characters don't see, or that we don't show you until we want to, sort of thing. I thought that was
it's
really
their modus operandi, the whole film, pretty much.
The whole film.
Yeah.
Is that way? Yeah.
For sure. before, I mean, I'm trying to think. Other scenes. I've got a good one up behind me. I love it when they're like framing shots of zombies behind them and they don't see them. There's one in the daytime.
The one on your right is the one when they're leaving the bar drunk and they're singing the song to each other and they don't even see they don't see the couple in the background where she bites his head off.
Right.
And they don't see this guy in the background coming toward them.
Not at all.
It's great. Yeah.
And then I love the scene with, Peter's been bit and they don't think about him until like the next day. And then Simon goes up and he's in the shower.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about you because you have a phobia of closed shower curtains.
Yeah. Never close the shower. Why do people do that? I don't understand. It becomes a hiding hole for monsters.
He pulls it open and there's zombie Peter standing there. And he just shuts it back.
And he goes,
I don't know what my key is for that, but I have seen that in a movie before. Do you know what I'm thinking of?
Where you open it and there's a zombie?
Where you open it and there's like a monster and they just shut it. You know what? I know what it is. It's that Saturday Night Live from the 70s where Gilda Radner is saying, "Mommy, mommy, there's a monster in the closet."
Oh yeah.
And and at the very end, when someone opened it, there is like an axe murderer in the closet. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but anyway. Our Shining, it's a half key to Shining because she's behind the curtain at first and reaches up and pulls it. But other good just quality of the performances and the writing. I like even just the little scene between Shaun and his girlfriend when he shows up after he's forgotten to book the room and everything else before she breaks up with him, and they're having that conversation on the bed. It's just so well done. And he's going, "Well, I brought you these," and she goes, "Love, Mom. They're for your mother, aren't they?" He goes, "Yeah." It's just the way.
Oh, and you said you were going to quit smoking. There, I did.
I did. See, I did.
Throws them.
It's that easy. Yeah, their relationships are good. The character development is good. And even when I thought it would get kind of silly or not work in the bar, it actually does. And then they actually have some pathos and some actual feeling moments in that last, 15 minutes when they're in the bar and they're being surrounded and they know there's no way out kind of thing. And Mom's been bitten and all of that,
Right.
But I do agree with you too. I mean, when we get to it in Keys later on, I mean, this whole movie is homage to Romero.
More than any, I think. I mean, there are other homage. I mean, there's other movies too, but it's mostly Romero for sure.
Oh yeah.
These guys know their horror.
Yes, definitely.
I could move on to casting. I don't have a lot. We mentioned Simon Pegg, who a lot of people know because he's the new Scotty in the new Star Trek film franchise, or the J.J. Abrams version. I've not seen those other comedies he did with Edgar Wright, but I do like him. I think he's great. Ashfield, I'm sorry.
And he's done a bunch. He has done a bunch of, I mean, probably 36 movies and series. He's especially in England, but he's done a lot.
Yeah, he pops up in small parts and things all the time too. You'll see him.
Oh yeah.
Kate Ashfield played his girlfriend Liz. I don't really know much about her. I guess she's probably more of a British actress, whereas Simon has definitely crossed over into America. Nick Frost.
Well, Simon is, I just remembered, Simon is like in The Boys, right? He's like Huey's dad in The Boys. That's Simon Pegg. Yeah,
he is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
I thought this, but I'm sorry to interrupt you there because
that's okay.
Because I think you're right. The thing about her was I kept saying I've seen her. I must have seen her in like a dozen movies and looked her up and went, nope. I don't recognize anything she's been in.
Same here. She looks familiar. She's got like a Cameron Diaz quality maybe or something, but I thought I knew her and I don't at all.
Nope. Not in anything else have I ever seen her. I was going, nope, she looks like a hybrid of like 3 or 4 different people, and I don't recognize one of the movie.
but then you go to Nick Frost, who plays Ed, and I've seen him in a ton of stuff too. He was in Kinky Boots, the original movie before Cyndi Lauper and then made a Broadway musical out of it. I remember him being in that. He worked in the Shoe Factory. And I love him. I think he's fantastic. And he is funny because I've never seen Simon Pegg laugh so hard as I did in those outtakes when he's doing all those improv things.
Yeah, he's very funny. I saw that he is in The Nevers, the new Joss Whedon series. That's going to be on Netflix. He's in that, so that'll be good to do. And yeah, like you said, he's done stuff with Wright before, and he's done stuff with Simon Pegg before. Nothing that I could recognize or that I had seen, but just great timing. He's just really good at the way he does and tries the different. A key for me, I guess, for him was he was like Belushi was when Belushi was at his best. His early films and Animal House and all that kind of slovenly roommate friend who has a heart of gold underneath, but, doesn't really care to be a zit, or whatever.
Honestly, I would have never put that together, but that rings very true. He is very Belushi-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for sure. And he's got the comic chops too.
Definitely. Really strong. He was great. Now I will say cast wise, the other one that I did recognize was the friend, David? Or Diana or whomever, the girl.
The female friend.
Her roommate. Yeah.
Her name is Lucy Davis.
Yes. And I kept looking at her and going, oh my gosh. I've seen her. Where have I seen her? And I really liked her. And she was just as British and just as funny. What was it? She's the assistant and becomes the best friend in Wonder Woman. The really kind of
because I haven't seen that
woman who is her friend who helps her Diana acclimate to England.
Interesting.
Kind of that's Lucy Davis.
Good for her.
Yeah, really good.
Wonder Woman was directed by someone big, wasn't it?
Female. I can't remember her name right now, but yes, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, she was the Etta, I think was her name in Wonder Woman. So.
Okay. I mentioned to you off camera that several famous British people do cameos as zombies in this movie. One of them is Matt Lucas, one half of Little Britain. And the guy that played David, Dylan Moran, who I don't know, but he's fine as the asshole character, which, he is the asshole character. But David Walliams auditioned for that role, and he is the other half of Little Britain.
Okay.
The taller one that's not bald. So I found that interesting because I could see him doing that part easily. But he evidently was not as big of a jerk as Dylan Moran, who ended up with the role.
See, I recognized, what's his name? Frodo Baggins.
Martin Freeman.
Yeah. I recognized he was in it in just that one scene. I mean, I think he only has one line or something.
I was going to say, because I must have looked away. I didn't see it. And then I was like, where was he? Was he a zombie? I was trying to figure out where he was.
It was the scene. It was that great scene where they meet the other group, and the other group has the girl that you think probably has a crush on Sean. And she's leading, this is my boyfriend, this is da-da-da, this is da-da-da, and this is my mom. And Sean goes, oh yeah, this is my girlfriend and Ed and da-da-da and da-da and my mom. And then they all pass each other. And supposedly, from what I learned online, when they pass each other, each of those couplings that says hi to each other are in other movies together.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. That's like,
and they did that on purpose. But the guy that she introduces as her boyfriend is Freeman.
Okay. And he's in another great zombie movie that is on our list, but we haven't done it yet, called Cargo.
Cargo, the Australian one, right? I haven't seen that yet.
I It may be Australian.
I'm pretty sure
I
it's
think
Australian.
it's kind of in a desert, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, no, I always see it in, like, if you want to see great Australian horror, watch that, watch Babadook, and one other one that they always recommend. So yeah.
Babadook's good if you can handle a kid screaming a lot. It drives me crazy. It's a good premise. So yeah, Martin Freeman makes a small cameo in the movie. There are some other famous people that do small parts in this movie.
Okay.
Sean's mother, Barbara. We're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah. Hilarious song. I was going, as soon as that line happened, I went, yes. Thank you for plugging. Johnny has the keys.
She was played by Penelope Wilton, who anyone out there that watches Downton Abbey will know is Matthew Crawley's mother. She was on the whole series. She was who plays the Countess on that? Maggie Smith. She's Maggie Smith's friend. Yeah.
Well, and nemesis at times.
At times.
Yeah.
They're like close friends and enemies. And then also playing her husband is Bill Nighy.
Bill Nighy. Oh,
Philip,
my gosh.
And he is Sean's stepdad, who Sean does not like.
Oh, he plays that so well, too. Gosh, he is so good.
For those of you who do not know who Bill Nighy is, I can give you a role that you wouldn't recognize him in. He played Davy Jones in the Pirates of the Caribbean series.
Yeah,
with the tentacles on his face.
Yeah.
But he's a great British actor.
Great, yes.
And then the only other one I have in my cast list, because the cast is really large because there's a lot of zombies in this movie, is that Chris Martin of Coldplay is a zombie in the background. And if I'm not mistaken, I just put a picture up and you can see him up in the left corner if you're looking at it. You see him?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't recognize him that shot, because it's usually
you can see that's him. I was like, I've got to find this, and I found this picture. He's in the zombie crowd that's outside the Winchester, and that's him.
Well, and I was going to say, people also might know Nighy because he's done other quote horror movies, because he is Victor in all of the Underworld movies. He's the lead vampire.
Those.
He's the lead vampire.
I have heard those have been recommended to me more than one time.
The first two are really good, I think, and good mythos of the whole, Lycans don't like vampires, and they have a centuries-old war and all of that. It's pretty good storytelling.
Okay.
But yeah.
I used to confuse them with like that other comic book movie, Resident Evil, I think, or something.
It's got zombies in it, but it's also got monsters in it,
and I was a little late getting this picture up, but that's a picture of Penelope and Bill Nighy as themselves, Sean's mom and stepdad, and as their zombie selves as well.
Yes.
So,
although one of those images is a key within a key, because that's not when he actually zommed out.
No, it's not. It's the flashback. Not flashback, but it's like a
possible flash. Yeah,
it's like a daydream thing. Yeah, because he actually turns into a zombie when they're in a car.
Right, which is even worse. A car with child protection locks engaged.
Open the door! Open the door!
So they can't get out. Yes. But that picture you're showing is from another sequence. It's a good scene in it where Sean and Ed each theorize what it would be like going to rescue his mom, and they go through
and kill
all those different scenarios.
And I love it when he gets there and is planning to kill him, and he's like got the cricket bat behind him, and he's sitting in the chair, and he's not dead yet.
Right? No, he's not at all. Is what'd you do wrong now, Sean?
Oh, God, it's hilarious.
Another
Another scene that came to mind also is And this zombie looks familiar to me, and I don't know who he is, but it's the one where they have his mother and they're going, when he says, we just have to go over there. And he said, what, over 20 garden fences?
Yeah, over 20 garden fences. Yeah.
And they're going through the backyards, and there's a zombie at one of the patio doors, one of the glass doors. And that's where his mother gets bit. You don't really know it at the time, but I like that zombie. And he looks familiar to me.
He had a good look to him too. He had a similar, like half the face was zombed out, almost like it reminded me of the one in Dawn of the Dead, the really good one that's there before when Peter almost gets shot by.
Right, the one that the guy where they're filling up the plane or the helicopter. Yeah,
that one.
But anyway, that was another scene that I had meant to mention earlier. And I don't know, and this is another little Easter egg, but if you watch his mother from that scene on, she's constantly like holding her arm and like trying to hide it.
That one makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's a nasty, gnarly bite, man. When they show it, I'm like, bitch, that would hurt.
Oh, I know. It was
huge. Her wrist, so she would have bled out.
Easily. I mean, she would have been gone long before then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Before we get into keys, I can mention some awards because this movie actually has some awards.
Okay.
We've talked often about how the BAFTAs are a little bit ahead of the Academy Awards on films. Yeah. Well, they were ahead with this one. This was nominated for 3 BAFTAs. It was nominated for Best Film, Best Interactive Award, which I guess has got something to do with Universal, it looks like. Actually, no, that's a DVD thing. And Best Promising Newcomer, which was the producer of this film.
Okay.
Nira Park. She was nominated also with Edgar Wright for Best Film. And for this new coming position. I'm not familiar with the BAFTA awards, but anyway, this was up for some. It won Best Horror Film for the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films in 2005. And it won Screenplay Bram Stoker Awards, which is the World Horror Association that I used to actually be a member of. And it won 4 Chainsaw Awards from Fangoria. Best Wide Release, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Nick Frost, and Best Screenplay, Simon and Edgar. So it's got some award clout. You know what? I did not look to see if it was in the 1001, but usually IMDb tells me that, so it may not be in the 1001. I will double check that, and if it is, I'll add it to the show notes.
Yeah, and call him up and say it needs to be added because 1002. Then obviously because it's good. It's very worthy.
Very worthy. So I have some trivia and I have some keys. Did you have anything else you want to go into before we move into key land?
I've got just a couple of notes that I'm just looking at that were like I just like his language use too of some of the running gags. I like "You've got red on you."
I love that.
Which started because he had a pen that leaked, but then just permeated all the way through of spatter and getting shot and getting hurt and everything. And so I
thought I had a picture of him with the splat. Well, here they are when they're like pretending to be zombies, and he's got red on him there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ed says it at one point after they've hit the 2 over the head.
And she says it to him, and his teammate at work says it to her, his other guy at work. And I've also got the other 2 quotes I've got. You just did one of them, which was "We're coming to get you, Barbara," which just cracked me up. I just loved it.
He screams it. "We're coming to get you, Barbara."
Yeah. And at one point they say, "Join us."
I want to say it's when he's upstairs with Peter. And he's on the phone or something.
Yeah.
He says, "Join us," or something. No, it's not a phone.
but it got
Can't
me
remember,
really
but he
good,
does.
too.
It's an Evil Dead
Yeah.
one for sure.
Yeah, Evil Dead, loved it. Trivia, you said you had before Keys.
I have something just to show you Simon Pegg's humor that I thought was kind of funny. He was once asked by an interviewer why they chose to have slow-moving zombies instead of running zombies, and his answer was, because death is not an energy drink. So,
well, I think it would be harder to do comedy with fast zombies. It would end up looking like Benny Hill, sort of.
And they'd have to use that music too. They considered a sequel where they were going to replace zombies with a different monster, but then they just decided this one stands alone too well and decided to.
Thank God.
And they went.
I'm so glad.
And those others.
I'm so glad when creatives do that, when they say, no, I'm not going to go back to the well again. I think this was enough. This was good. Let's leave it.
I will give you the title of what they were considering, though.
Yes.
From Dusk Till Dawn. It's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Got to give it that one. Yep.
And then last bit of trivia I had is that it was voted by BBC Radio 1 and BBC Radio 1 Extra as their favorite movie of all time. Their second favorite movie of all time. The first was Shawshank Redemption. So in England, BBC wise, this is right up there with Shawshank Redemption.
Wow.
That's pretty big.
I did like the brilliance of, again, like I said, they keep taking sequences in this whole movie and he'll do them one way and then later on they'll do them a totally different way, but it's the same way. You know what I mean? But other stuff is different, like getting up and going to the local store. They do the same thing with when Ed's playing video games and Sean's behind him and he's giving him directions. And that's exactly the same dialogue when they're in the pub later on about to your left, over there. Oh, nice shot. I didn't think you could do that. That sort of thing. It's the same dialogue. And there was another one too. I was trying to remember that was the same way where it was done one way and then they did it again. And it's when he's, it's not one of those, but it's great writing. It's when he sits down and he's just flipping through the remote, but it's making a cohesive story with all the different channels.
Each, like the line carries over to the next one and it almost makes a sentence.
Yes, it makes complete sentences and stuff with all the different
it's like
edits.
When it gets to the Eaten Alive, it's like a Wild Kingdom program with like a lion
animals
something.
Eating each other
alive. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I love the way they did that too. And I also loved the fact, and I mentioned this earlier, that he's so oblivious to it in the beginning, and you're hearing it everywhere. You're hearing it on TVs, you're hearing it in the streets, you're hearing it on radios, and I don't know. That's just,
and they're just oblivious, and that's what makes it work. But the fact that he can also, it says a lot about Simon Pegg that he can take this character and still make him endearing all the way through. We root for him from the very beginning, all the way through, despite all of the issues that he has of, can't keep a girl, keeps pandering to this roommate, all of that. Is obviously terrible at his job, doesn't go to his mom and support his mom when she needs him and keeps saying stop by and all that. He's endearing and we like him. We've done several, like you said, we've done several comedies this season, and comedy is hard to do and not delve into farce and be stupid or silly about it. And handling comedy this well says a lot about this whole cast, writing, directing, everything. Yeah, because it is a very strong comedy.
Comedy is hard. We know that. And I think a lot of the reason why it's successful for me is also the connection and the love for the genre that they have. That it's just clear that they are crazy about Romero's movies because it's all over this movie. I may have this. I I don't know if I have it in a note, but they had a screening with Romero. And he loved it, absolutely loved it. And he said something funny, and I can't remember what it was. Maybe I'll come across it. I don't know if I pasted it or not.
Well, I've got my first note and my first key is the beginning sound effects are Night of the Living Dead. Is that correct?
It's Dawn.
It's Dawn. Okay.
Yeah. The very first audio you hear, like even before, I think it's like when the logo is up, not even the movie. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same as the beginning of Dawn of the Dead.
Okay. Those sound effects and everything. Yeah, okay. That's what I had. So that
and
was
then
my
if
first
you watch
key.
it to the end of the credits, the last thing you hear is the dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah.
So it starts with Dawn of the Dead's music and it ends with Dawn of the Dead's music.
Perfect.
And I think they were both public domain pieces that he just pulled. Yeah. I mentioned this just a few minutes ago, so I'll mention it again. Another key to Night of the Living Dead is that the newscast mentions a space probe that unexpectedly re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, and that is mentioned in a newscast in this movie as well.
And that's coming from like the car radio when he's passing by going to the store. I remember that because I remember saying, "Oh yeah, spaceship." So Night of the Living Dead. There you go.
Yeah, you could grab all that. Oh, here's the one I couldn't remember. The store that the girl works for is the John Landis supermarket or whatever, but Sean's place of work is called 4E Electric, as in Ken 4E.
Ken 4E, really? Wow.
Yeah, and if you look at Sean's name tag, it says it 4E Electric on it.
All right, that's a good one.
And he played Peter in Dawn of the Dead.
I have the scene in the garden with Mary. They end up, what finally convinces them that something is wrong is they push Mary onto this big metal tube and it cuts a hole in her. And when she gets up, you can see them in the background through the hole in her body. Yeah. And it reminded me of Death Becomes Her, the Goldie Hawn movie, when she has the hole in her the whole time.
You're right. And it's also, don't they do that in Evil Dead too? Somewhere? I want to say one of the Evil Dead movies may do that.
I think in the second one they do.
Maybe.
It might be the third. It might be Army of Darkness. But in one of them they do that where you look through the body.
Death Becomes Her, though. That is definitely in that because I remember
that's the one I got out of it.
I have well, I already mentioned this, obviously, but Mary, the zombie in Sean's backyard, works at Landis Supermarket. This is a nod to John Landis, who directed American Werewolf and Michael Jackson's Thriller. And it's also apparently a chain of convenience stores in England named Londis, Londis. So it was like a double reference there. And that's really more of an homage, I would say, probably, than a key, now that I think about it. Yeah. And then I've also got the Lucio Fulci one that we have already mentioned, which is the Italian restaurant. I love that it's an Italian restaurant, too, because those movies are so gory. I don't know. It was appropriate.
I've got, and this is kind of a weird stretch, but it immediately to me, and so I'm assuming it would be you too as well, but when David, the dick boyfriend guy, is pulled out and literally ripped open and everything else, that was Day of the Dead.
That was both Dawn and Day, really.
But he even looked like the guy I didn't like in Day of the Dead, the brunette dude that was the soldier that nobody liked, and he got his whole entrails ripped out.
I know who you're talking about.
That's who that scene reminded me of. So that was a key for that one.
Well, since you brought up Day of the Dead, I will go with another one that's Day of the Dead, and that is that there's a pizza place behind Sean to his left when he's getting the cornetto for Ed. The cornetto's that, like, I don't know. It looks kind of like an
Ice
cream cone.
Yeah.
And it's called Bub's Pizza.
Bub.
Bub's Pizza. Yeah. Throughout the movie, homage is paid to Capcom's original Resident Evil game series. I didn't know this because I don't know that game. It said a vivid example can be seen during the pub cellar scene where a switch to activate a lift is only made visible by activating a lighter. Excuse me. I don't know. I don't play that video game.
I did play that, but I don't remember that. But I do remember the elevator, and it was like that. It was one of those open kind
like
of elevator
lift.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. But I don't remember it being with a lighter. But that's a cool idea. Yeah, I liked that whole scene. I like the way that was done. I like both of them going, "How many bullets do we have?" You know, that I like he did such good work screenplay wise so that it didn't get too crazy. Although I did, I always do, but in my notes I have, it's not very realistic that Sean could run through that entire group of zombies and have them chase him away. That's just not very realistic. And then I thought, David, why are you writing that down? There's zombies. Okay. That's not realistic either. So,
we were talking about scenes earlier, and I love when he's in the back flicking those breaker switches, and he just flicks that one, and outside that door there's like 100 zombies.
They're all there, and he's like, and he just flicks it back off.
He pulls his shade down, I think.
Yeah.
It's the same as that shower curtain joke.
Yeah, we're not going to look at that. Yeah.
Apparently Simon Pegg's favorite movie is Star Wars, and there's a line in there, get behind me, which is the same thing that Han Solo shouts to Chewbacca as stormtroopers are entering the cell block.
Okay. Sure. I didn't get that one, but
I didn't get it either. That's why I found it.
A little obscure on that
stuck
one,
it in
but
here.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the references we're going to have are zombie movies.
Of course.
I was trying to find something that wasn't a zombie movie.
Yeah. Although I did like the Queen scene too. I liked that when they're trying to beat the shopkeeper to Queen.
There's 2 great Queen songs in it because they do another one, Bites the Dust too, don't they?
Yeah.
But Don't Stop Me Now is the
that's when they're all beating the bar owner. Yeah.
That's the one where they're trying to silence the jukebox, right?
Yeah, but they're beating the bar owner with the pool cues. Yeah. Yeah,
that's a good sequence.
You got red on you.
If you want to make your movie a hit, put a Queen song in it.
Put a Queen song in it. It always works. Yeah. I don't have any more. That's all of my keys because there's so many that are just. I mean, he loves the genre and he loves all of the precursors. Now, I was going to challenge you. Is there another key since then? Has somebody else tried to do a comedy zombie? Because I
mentioned Zombieland, and I mentioned.
Yeah, I guess you're right there.
Isn't that the Dead? I haven't seen it. You saw it, and you talked to me about it, and said you didn't like it. But
The Dead Next Door or whatever. No, that's
not mine. No, the one that was that's got
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray in it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I can't think of the name of it. You knew the director and everything, and I was like,
Dead Things. That was Jim Jarmusch's. What was that?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so that's 2 right there, and that is definitely a key because they followed this movie. And Zombieland. I didn't put Zombieland down. I should have.
What was that? It was something that. Dead Don't Die. Dead Don't Die, because it was alliteration. Yeah. Yeah, that was a terrible film.
I heard it was. I've never seen it. Excuse me. The reference we mentioned earlier that I wanted to bring back is when he says join us, it's him telling Zombie Pete that he is welcome to join us.
Oh, come with him.
Yes, exactly. And that's when they take his car. And Nick wants to drive his car. I mean, not Nick. I keep calling him Nick. That's his real name. Ed wants to drive his car. And then he wants to drive Sean's stepdad's Jaguar.
Yeah.
Which reminded me a little bit of Ferris Bueller too, which we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's funny. So yes, join us. And that's also a key to us because I use join us in almost every Facebook post.
Okay.
We also mentioned that Goblin is used. Actually, I said public domain music, but that first music that you mentioned may have been Goblin.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the credit sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one I think was Goblin. The one I mentioned is the public domain one at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Near the end, Sean is yawning, and you can hear a newscaster state that initial claims of the virus were being caused by rage-infected monkeys has been dismissed, which is a joke to 28 days later.
Mm-hmm.
So they do hit on a fast zombie joke anyway, which is kind of cute. And then one of the biggest keys, it's not the biggest keys, but it's a direct key that neither one of us really thought to bring up until now, is that Ed is known for imitating a rather famous orangutan named Clyde in the Every Which Way But Loose movies that Clint Eastwood did in the 70s.
Yep. Definitely.
And some of those outtakes are available as well.
Oh my gosh. I'd have to look at it.
So, but that's all I have as far as keys.
Yeah, me too. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in this, and Easter eggs, like you said, and references to other movies. I mean, I didn't list them as keys just because it's like a direct line, like "We're coming to get you, Barbara," or stuff like that.
Well, and like you mentioned, the same directions being repeated, like that he said in the bar that he says when they're playing video games. I saw it on YouTube, and a lot of this stuff is available on YouTube if you're out there and you're curious, where a lot of what what Ed says happens. And one of the instances was Bloody Mary, and it being the first zombie they see in the yard,
right.
Her name is Mary. So it's almost like they're foreshadowing is what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that, if you want to get really into the nuts and bolts of it, some of that stuff's available on YouTube.
Yeah, you should look it up. I mean, because even down to like, Sean has his tie he wraps around his head like like a bandana almost at the end. Which is like Deer Hunter. It looks like a Deer Hunter
or
thing.
Rambo.
Or Rambo. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
Or even Ash. I don't know if Ash ever wore a bandana, but he's always, got the gun too.
The boomstick.
The boomstick. Yeah. Which again, he's this bad third-rate pseudo middle management manager of a bad
a retail store, which is what, exactly. That's exactly what Bruce does in that series.
Yeah.
I mean, he does it in Army of Darkness too, I think, but it's definitely in the series that was on Stars.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Well, thank you for this one. I got to say, because I had never seen it before. I intentionally didn't watch it once it came out that it was on our list. I was going, okay, now I'm not going to watch it until then because I want to get that fresh thing. And it says a lot, because you know how critical I can be. It says a lot that I really like this movie, because how in the hell did Ed survive to be in the last scene of the movie? But it didn't bother me. I didn't care. I kind of liked it. It was cool.
I did too. And I like that he still likes to play video games.
But yeah, there's no way that, the whole bar blew up. And he was underneath it. So definitely he died. But he zombed out and came back. Yeah.
And he's a little smudgy, like he's had some smoke.
Yeah.
Or something.
I
was going to say that closes us for our comedies of season 3.
Wow.
And what's funny is that I think one of them was not intended. That might have been Battle Royale.
Battle Royale. Battle Royale. Look at the board. Battle Royale.
And this is our 38th film
Wow.
of the season. So we only have 2 more episodes.
2 more
before
episodes.
we take a summer break and come back in August.
And we will be announcing to our Patreon members and everything else our season 4 coming up soon, which is really exciting. It's going to be really neat. And we are still finalizing it, though. So if you're listening and you have some suggestions for what would you like us to talk about next season, let us know. You can email us. You can follow us on social media. We've got a Facebook page. We've got all that fun stuff. We encourage you to, like us, subscribe, click the button, give us a good review if you can. It only takes, somebody said on another podcast that I like, it's a small click for you, but it's a lot for us. So,
it is a lot. Please like our videos.
Yes.
And also, if you don't watch us on YouTube and you're just a podcast listener and you want to have some bonus material that you don't have to subscribe to, go over to Patreon. We just posted, well, actually, while this airs, it'll be much later, but there is a free hour and a half of us talking about WandaVision on there.
Oh, yeah.
That is only on YouTube and only on Patreon. We didn't do a podcast of it. So if you want to see that, hop aboard.
Yeah. We're trying to, blend mediums all over the place. So, yeah. And,
We're very diverse.
if you're into literature, my friend Tim does have a little thing called a novel that he wrote, and it is really good, especially if you're into zombies, because it is a zombie
we've got a whole thing going on here.
Novel, and it's really, really good. So please,
people are rushing to buy it everywhere.
Look behind him; they can't get enough. They've got to have a copy now. Tim, thank you for letting us do this. It's fun.
Hey, yeah, I enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. Actually, we're going to stay in horror world 2 in a row because we have a double feature of sci-fi at the end. So I will see you somewhere dark next week. How about that?
Somewhere dark. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
You can't start the car. Johnny has the key.